Now, this looks like a bit of a pattern coming from Godwin Emefiele, the central bank governor. 3 months ago, when the last Monetary Policy Committee meeting was held on May the 23rd, the Sunday before that, or the weekend before that, the central bank governor was the special speaker at the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, and he hinted that the MPC would not raise interest rates. And that again seemed to have played out. Last weekend, he was also in Nsukka at a public lecture, and he also hinted there will be no interest rate cut, at least for now. So the key question, I haven't gotten a chance to meet the governor in recent times, but if I meet him again, I'm going to ask him if he's using pre-MPC meetings to signal what the regulator will do. So let's get to take a little bit of a listen for a couple of minutes now, the next about 10 minutes or so, to what he told his audience at the public lecture last weekend, where some members of the press were present, and he spoke about not just on the monetary side of things, but it was very heavy on the fiscal side of the conversation and what lies ahead and where the economy is actually going from his own perspective from the central bank.
I believe it is appropriate and in fact expected that the CBN contributes to protecting the jobs and incomes of local farmers using some of the same principles that Western economies have used to justify the protection of their farmers through huge subsidies. We need to work hard to curb inflation. In order to tackle inflation, we must first understand what kind of inflation we have in Nigeria. Is it demand pull with too much money chasing few goods, or cost push where supply constraints result in few goods in the marketplace? Our analysis at the CBN suggests that we have cost push inflation in Nigeria. Indeed, we currently have several supply constraints that can be christened the three problematic Fs: food, low harvest, disease outbreak, northeast crisis, etc. Fuels, high electricity and PMS and kerosene prices, and foreign exchange, high demand and low supply of foreign exchange. Given this analysis, it is easy to see why the CBN is doing a lot to ease these supply constraints. In response to recent calls by notable persons and groups on the central bank to reduce the country's high lending rates, I think it is important that I share my view on this issue. Let me first state that I have for long been a believer in low interest rates. In fact, when I unveiled my vision for the CBN on assumption of duty as governor in June 2014, reducing interest rates was one of my cardinal priorities. Yet, it is important that we discuss this issue based on facts rather than politics and/or emotions. First, interest rates are a veritable tool for curtailing inflation, and with inflation at over 16%, the CBN will be abjectly failing in one of its key mandates if it cut interest rates at this time. Second, for those who say that we need a rate cut to spur growth, we need to be reminded that high inflation is inimical to economic growth. Indeed, many empirical studies conducted at the CBN between 2014 and 2017 have estimated the threshold level for Nigeria at which inflation becomes significantly growth retarding to between 10 and 12.6%. What we're saying here is, if inflation based on models conducted, based on studies conducted, if inflation is above maximum 12.6%, no matter what you do to stimulate growth, it will certainly retard growth. With Nigeria at 16.1% today, one must question the judgment of cutting interest rates at this time. Finally, I think it is important to underscore that interest rates reflect not just the cost of capital, but also the cost of doing business. And so we need to also look at interest rates from the perspective of the lender. Given that most banks have to individually provide security, power, and other infrastructure, it is not surprising that some of these costs are passed on to customers in the form of high interest rates. Notwithstanding these facts, we would continue to use moral suasion to encourage commercial banks to be more considerate in interest rate charges on customers. Let me note at this juncture that one of the reasons the CBN ventured into development banking was to minimize the effects of high interest rates on customers, particularly in some select sectors of the economy, like core manufacturing, agriculture, and micro, small, and medium enterprises. This push started in 1997 with the Agricultural Credit Guarantee Scheme, and since then, the CBN has intervened through various developmental initiatives, all at single-digit interest rates. To date, the CBN has disbursed over 393 billion in 490 projects under the Commercial Agricultural Credit Scheme. The CBN has also disbursed over 29 billion under the Anchor Borrowers Program, 150 billion under the Small Scale and Medium Enterprise Program, 236.4 under the Power and Innovation Intervention Fund. In addition, through its refinancing and restructuring facility, the CBN has disbursed over 400 billion to core manufacturers through the restructuring of their loans in deposit money banks into long-term facilities, thereby helping to stimulate the economy with immediate liquidity for growth of the manufacturing sector. Combined, these schemes have created over 6.7 million direct jobs and a lot more indirect jobs. Variants of this policy have proven to be highly effective in other climes and even here in Nigeria. For example, throughout the early days of South Korea's economic renaissance, the government intermittently used excessively stiff tariffs, quantitative restrictions, and prohibitive inland taxes to effectively ban many items. In the Western Hemisphere, for example, the United States prohibits the import of generic Canadian drugs that are way cheaper but just as effective as those locally made in the United States. And for almost a decade now, the Indian retailers have been waging a war against their government's proposal to open up the retail sector to more efficient global players like Walmart. We all know how European governments have helped local taxi drivers in their battle against the new, less costly, and more efficient American taxi company, the Uber, a service that uses a smartphone app to get users taxis from the comfort of their lives. And here at home, variants of these policies were used to achieve significant self-sufficiency in cement, a product whose importation could have been costing Nigeria over $3.2 billion in FX reserves annually. In effect, therefore, this policy needs to be supported not just in response to the pressure on the Naira, but as an opportunity to change the country's and economy's structure, resuscitate local manufacturing, and expand job creation for our teeming youths and for our citizens. Take rice imports, for instance. Why should we keep allocating scarce FX to rice importers when vast amounts of paddy rice of comparable and indeed better quality produced by our poor, hard-working local farmers across the rice belts of Nigeria are wasted, and farmers are falling deeper into poverty while we export their jobs and income to rice-producing countries abroad. Few decades ago, Nigeria was one of the world's largest producers of palm oil. But today, we import nearly 600,000 metric tons of palm oil, while Indonesia and Malaysia combined export over 90% of global demand. The story is that Malaysians came to Nigeria, took our palm kernel to their country. They even took one of our professors, another one, Professor Obiozo, I don't know from which university, to Malaysia to help conduct research for the growth, for them to grow palm oil or develop their palm plantation industry. And today, Malaysia, combined with Indonesia, control 90% market share of the palm oil industry. Few decades, and these palm trees are there everywhere. What happened? What happened? The main revenue earner from the south and southeastern part of the country those days used to be palm oil. The main revenue earner for the southwest in the 50s and in the 60s used to be cocoa. The main revenue earner from the northern part of Nigeria those days used to be groundnut, cotton, and the rest of them. Under these circumstances, I believe it is appropriate and in fact expected that the CBN contributes to protecting the jobs and incomes of local farmers using some of the same principles that Western economies have used to justify the protection of their farmers through huge subsidies.